بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الطيب الطاهر الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, and it is a Friday during the month of Dhul Hijjah, and it is or should be considered the best opportunity of the year for us to gather some much needed blessings for ourselves because it is a Friday during the month of Dhul Hijjah, which is one of the sacred months. Dhul Hijjah is the final month of the Islamic calendar, and there are many things that we can do for ourselves spiritually that I want to encourage you to uh, put into practice today and for the rest of this special time, which is the first 10 days. So, from the beginning of the Hijjah, which was roughly on Monday, I believe, until the day of the Eid, these 9 days in particular are very, very special. And we should do our best to do some extra things for the sake of our souls, inshallah ta'ala. Things like fasting, extra fast, giving extra charity, making extra prayers, particularly the night prayer, the tahajjud prayer, and many, many other things. Any area of goodness, we are told in the spiritual tradition that the reward of things that we do during the month of the Hijjah are multiplied immensely. And so we should take advantage of this month and of this time. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us. Ameen, ameen, ameen. So today I wanted to go back in time a bit and answer some of the questions that I have finally gotten around to answering. Of course, I do not like to give you answers to questions without doing at least a little bit of homework, and to make sure that I am giving you as thorough an answer as possible. And so, to be honest, the question about Sodom and Gomorrah, which was posted to the group by Sister Anisa Okda some time back, is a very, very interesting question, a very good question, and actually a very deep question. And so she asked this question in reference to the reading from Surat al Saffaat. And Surat al Saffaat is Surah 37, and the verse in question is verse 137. And she asked about some things about the Dead Sea, because this is by all accounts believed to be the location of the Dead Sea. Historically and from an archaeological standpoint, this is believed to be accurate. Of course, the Quran would not tell us the exact geographical location, only to hint to us and give us some indications that this is believed to be the location where the people of Prophet Lot suffered their demise. And so the verse reads, "And verily, to this day, you pass by the remnants of their dwellings." Right? So, Sister Anisa's questions, she had four of them, are question one: are there remnants that exist today? So, the remnants of the people of Prophet Lot. Are there any remnants that exist today? Um, Question two: was the destruction the cause of the Dead Sea, or was it already dead? So I'm going to tackle the first two questions here. So, first of all, question one: are there remnants that exist today? And the answer to that question is unequivocally and resoundingly yes. Um, Although it may be hard to determine what those remnants are or where they are, because um, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran describes a form of punishment that fell upon these people that was the lifting of their village off of the ground. So uprooting them out of the ground and then turning their village or their town upside down and letting it drop back to earth, which would indicate many levels of punishment. So, first, they were smashed into the earth and they were um, uh, thereby, if they were smashed into the earth, this was creating a crater within the earth's surface. And that crater became what used to be their town. Okay, and so if we are to go with this description, and of course this is what the Quran says happened, then that means that everything about them was buried underneath the earth. Um, of course, there are discussions that we can have about um, what this means in relationship to what we are experiencing in today's modern world with regard to the open practice of uh, 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 deviant sexual behaviors and practices. And there's a lot of discussion, legal discussion, and social conversation around that. But I wanted to focus solely on the remnants. And so it would be hard to determine or to, in fact, identify the remnants, especially since today um, there is a sea in that place, which is my lead into her second question. Was the destruction the cause of the Dead Sea, or was it already dead? So we don't know if the destruction actually created the Dead Sea, right? So we don't know if there was a sea that already existed and then the village was dropped into that body of water, or was uh, the village dropped onto the earth. And as we know, sometimes the earth can birth new bodies of water because there are bodies of water underneath the earth's surface, right? Because the earth's surface um, is layered, right? So we don't really, these are really questions for scientists of geology and archaeology who are engaged in constant exploration of the earth and its terrain, right? However, um, we can assume, if we go with the assumption that there was already a body of water, right, then we can assume that the correct answer to this question is that the destruction was the cause of the the creation of the Dead Sea, because initially there was a body of water that was vibrant and living and full of life. And then when Allah destroyed the people of Lot and buried them actually in this body of water, that body of water became dead. Now, we don't have, or I'm not making this as a definitive uh, statement in relationship to what happened, but Allah, and of course, Allah knows best, but it would be safe to assume that, and there's a reason for me answering this question that way, and we'll get to the reason when we get to the other questions. Now, going back to the remnants, Uh, so I did a little research, and a couple of people, including Sister Saida, shared some information from Sheikh Google, the internet. Um, and so I'm going to read one of the things that I came across. So there is plausible historical evidence that Sodom and Gomorrah were actual places and were discovered in 1976 when the Italian scholar Giovanni Patinato said clay tablets found in the previously unknown kingdom of Abla in what is now Syria list Sodom and Gomorrah. So, and of course, this is a scientist of archaeology and geology making this assertion. And so this led to the idea or the belief that there are, in fact, remnants that support the existence of this place, of these places called Sodom and Gomorrah. Um, of course, the Quran establishes that their remnants exist. The question is, when we locate something or we find something, how do we know it is actually one of the remnants of this place? And, because of the severity of the destruction of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, their remnants would be unlike the remnants of, say, um, the Roman Empire, for example, or the Greek Empire, for example, or Egyptian Empire, or the Sudanese Nubian empires, where there are artifacts that are, in terms of chronological timing, they're closer to our time, and their remnants are still intact in many instances, and they still exist. And so we're able to witness these things. Some of these other remnants that are the result of Allah punishing a group of people um, are different, right? So it'd be harder to determine whether or not these remnants that are located in these places are the actual remnants of these people. And this is an ongoing quest, right, to find um, remnants that support, at least from an archaeological standpoint, uh, that these are, in fact, the remnants of these people. But for us as Muslims, we accept what Allah says about the existence of this community of people, as well as how He dealt with them, right? And so now that brings us to the third question. Is Sodom and Gomorrah believed to be under the sea? And so if we accept the assumption that there was a body of water already existing, and when Allah turned the village upside down and let the village fall into the water, then it could be the case that Sodom and Gomorrah are under the sea, and of course, Allah knows best. And then the last question that she had, question 4, is there a ruling about entering the Dead Sea or using products from it, since it may be considered a part of Allah's wrath? Now, this is a very good question and a very important question. So, first of all, the ruling as it relates to entering the Dead Sea. Oftentimes, people forget, we all forget, that some of the historical places that Allah mentions to us, so they're referenced in the Quran, and we may be able to go and visit some of the locations of places where Allah destroyed people who came before us. And what we have to understand and what we must always remember is, when we are visiting a place that was destroyed by Allah, a place that suffered the wrath of Allah, This is supposed to remind us that we are always to strive to be in obedience to Allah, lest we suffer a similar outcome, right? And so we have to move away from the mentality of, let's go to the Dead Sea to visit the Dead Sea as tourists, as opposed to going to the Dead Sea to witness, spiritually witness what Allah said in reference to people who lived in disobedience to Him and Allah dealt with them. These are two different mindsets. This is not to say that you shouldn't visit the Red Sea or the Dead Sea. This is not to say that it is haram in any way. But I recall when we were living in Medina, there was a place outside of the city of Medina, on the outskirts of Medina, known as Madayin Saleh, the villages of the people of Prophet Saleh, right? And that location is believed to be the exact location of the village of the people of Prophet Saleh, who were also, as the Quran tells us, destroyed for the disobedience of the Prophet Saleh alayhi salam, right? And we would get advice from our teachers, from our sheikhs, and they would tell us that when you go to these places, don't linger around, don't go to these places without keeping in mind that these are places that suffered torment and punishment. And so the requisite mentality is that you honor that by humbling yourself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this taught us that there is an adab, there is an etiquette to visiting these remnants, right? So the same way when we go to visit the graves, right, and we go visit our loved ones who passed on before us, there is an etiquette that we are to observe in the cemetery that's different than our normal behavior, right? So when we're in the presence of the dead, we are to be reminded of um, uh, our time, that we are in fact running out of time, that we are in fact facing what they have already faced, that we are no different than them, and this is why we engage ourselves in dua and mindful activity that is that is appropriate for the occasion. So the same can be said for visiting a location or a place that has suffered Allah's wrath. And so, to build on that, using products from the Dead Sea would be inadvisable. I wouldn't venture to say haram, but I would say from a spiritual point of view that I would definitely not use products from the Dead Sea, um, because the product of the Dead Sea is dead. And although many in the beauty industry may advocate for the use of this product as simply a commodity, they're looking at it from a commodification point of view. This is just a commodity. This is just clay from the Dead Sea. This is just dirt from the Dead Sea. This product is made from, uh, you know, um, you know, parts of the Dead Sea that are floating around. Whatever the issue is, this is only a outlook of commodification and not a spiritual outlook, which should guide everything that we do and inform everything that we do. And so, from that point of view, it is inadvisable to use products from the Dead Sea. And of course, Allah knows best. Um, but that would be my answer to that part of the question. So, again, these were four very good questions. Hopefully, inshallah, I was able to provide some answers to the questions. And inshallah, you can look forward to more questions, more of your questions being answered in this format. especially when I feel that I need to do a little more in terms of giving you as broad an answer as possible. Jazakumullah khair for your efforts. May Allah reward you for your efforts to engage yourselves in the reading of the Quran constantly. If you're interested in more of our spiritual content, please visit our YouTube page. And if you are interested in supporting our seminary work, please visit our institute page, qubainstitute.com. Jazakumullah khair, and I will see you in the next video. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.